Timeline?
Oh, I'm going. Hey, everybody. My name's Luke, and I'm in the Advanced GPS Navigation class for week number 2, discussion board 1. We're discussing some things we learned, some new things that we learned for the G1000 systems. And quite a few things. I think, number one, making a 5-minute video is kind of intimidating, so you'll have to bear with me. And I think what's been really fun for me is to compare and contrast the G1000 system as we're seeing it on what looks like to be a 182 or a 172, and comparing that to the G1000 Prodigy flight deck that's in the Phenom 300 that we fly at my job. And there's quite a few differences and also quite a few similarities. A couple of things that I've learned I think Martha was talking about the renaming flight plan function. Once you have saved a flight plan and go rename it, it tells you just a little snippet of information about that. And I think that's tells you like your total trip, nautical miles, a few other things. And I think that's really handy in regards to a lot of times we fly trips to and from some of the same locations, but have different routings. So if we're going to Buffalo to Teterboro and it's peak time and we're going to get rerouted 150 miles south, we know and have those routes saved and we can reload that. But a lot of times if you look on the loading flight plan section, it just shows BUF TEB, but in that little window that she showed, it would be able to clearly see which flight plan we're loading. So that was cool. Also, additionally with that, you could rename it, Buffalo South Flow, or name it whatever you want. I think that's kind of neat. A few other things I watched and learned was how to invert a flight plan, and I never really saw a need or a function for that. Quite honestly, didn't know that was there, and I think that's pretty cool. A few other things are, let's see. The wide and narrow key on the view for the flight plan when you have it up on the MFD. I think that having that function saved is really nice. I didn't know that that's saved. I thought that was something we had to change every time. And most of the time, everybody flies ours differently and changes the map settings. And of course, now learning the G1000 saves all of that previous information. So looking forward, I think we might be able to set a standardized crew profile, but I think that's probably to come in some of the next videos. If not, I think that might just be a G3000 thing. Next, I think looking at the distance bearing pointer, one thing I had no idea about, we sit up there at cruise and click the cursor in and check out different lakes and towns and highways with our little cursor all the time. It's impossible to drive, but it actually shows up at the top of the MFD, at least on the G1000 that we're studying, the distance in nautical miles from your current position and your bearing. And I think that's pretty cool to be able to look at, especially if you're in a flight training environment, to be able to look and kind of visualize a scale of, hey, I'm 16 nautical miles south of this town or this fix, because it shows the GPS fixes if you have the decolor set up. I thought that was pretty handy. Another thing would be OBS mode, specifically looking at OBS mode. It's something that we use very rarely. At my home airport, there's no approaches into one runway. And so at night, a lot of the guys in setting it up will use OBS mode direct to our airport, as John showed. However, I had no idea about if you stay in OBS mode and you continue to fly to a fix, once you cross the station or that fix outbound, what would happen? That's something a lot of times I've learned in the G1000 system, is that if there's something I don't know, I typically just go with the safe route. So it was kind of cool to watch his little airplane fly through that fix, and it looks like it tracks the station outbound and just gives you a from the station, in his case, the Seal Beach 315 radial VOR. And I thought that was pretty cool. Something that I think I could probably use too, instead of having to go and give myself extra steps. Excuse me. Another thing John talked about, I learned, was using the user waypoints, specifically multiple user waypoints. The way that he did it was a lot easier than I have. I've always gone in and just hit enter and had to kind of name it user 0001 and then go back and change it. We use those user waypoints for equal time points for when we do extended overwater crossing, for equal time point for if we have an engine failure, depressurization, or a medical emergency. the way that he showed us how to do that was significantly easier. So all in, definitely learned quite a bit in this first couple lessons, and I'm really excited to take the next few weeks and continue to learn. Anyway, y'all have a good afternoon.